Okay, so welcome everybody. Let me see, we have 10 of you now. I know the last time Ricardo kept jumping in and out, so I hope he's settled this time. All right, so I want you all to take a little time and think about from the last session, if you had any takeaway, like an aha moment, what was it? If you did, I want you to just put it in the chat. Anything that resonated with you, anything that you took away, anything that you want to share to start reflecting on that first session. Yes? Camille?
You want me to talk or?
You could talk or you could put it in the chat, whichever you prefer.
I think the looking at the teaching philosophy was very helpful. It was a good aha moment. It gave me a good example to look at and to figure out what was my teaching philosophy. And I think for the first time I was able to articulate it properly.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Diane, I just want to say that somebody's mic is on, so we're hearing you a second time from that person's, probably Camille's mic.
Camille, okay, she's muted. She's off. You're still hearing it?
No, thank you.
Good. Okay. All right. So, Marsha, the portfolio is very personal, and the right one is what reflects you best. Nobody else took away anything? I have to warm you all up. Right, you can use your personal experience to guide your philosophy. And what I want to share with you all too is, as you do the process, I mean, we tend to think about what motivated us, what drives us as teachers, what led to us becoming teachers. But sometimes we don't take too much account of how we really think about our students, what we think about them in terms of how they learn, and we don't always articulate what we think we do in the classroom that reflects the way we see learning and the way we see ourselves. So that's something I want you all to start to think about as we go through, whether or not you really apply in the classroom the strategies that you feel are aligned with how you see your students and how you see yourselves. So that's something I want you all to reflect on as we go along. And I was talking earlier before we started with Marsha and Sharon, and I was saying that this second part of the workshop, what I want you all to be able to do is to concretize in your minds what are the elements, what are the things that I'm going to put into this portfolio in a very systematic way. That's one thing. And to look at one particular tool that could be used to develop your e-portfolio so that you will be comfortable with thinking about which tool you're going to use, because nowadays it is an e-portfolio that you're going to be developing, and we'll be using one specific tool, but that's just to give you the principles behind it. You could go off and use any other tool, and we'll give you ideas on examples of other persons who have used other types of tools so that you could see the different look and feels and decide which one might be best for you. I see Judy just put in the chat that you need to ask for items from persons whom you taught and team. Yes, you actually have to collect what we call artifacts, because one of the critical things in a portfolio is evidence. You can't just say something. So I want to go back to what I mentioned in the previous workshop, that the three main components, and these may not be the only components, but any portfolio, any teaching portfolio should have these elements. You must have your teaching philosophy and your goals. You must have teaching and learning responsibilities and activities, which will include those strategies and all that. And you must have your evidence of effective teaching, which Judy just mentioned in terms of your artifacts that you're going to be collecting. So, teaching responsibilities, what we're talking about when we say that, we're looking at the courses, of course, the most obvious thing, the courses that you've taught or that you're teaching. If you have supervised any graduate students, if you're on any teaching committees or any kind of educational committees, what level students you teach, what numbers of students you teach, have you done course development on your own? What courses have you actually developed and or modified? What teaching materials or innovations have you used? And that's a critical one to include. So we're starting off with an activity because you're still not warm. So we're going to go straight into an activity. Now you would have gotten a sheet. I'm just going to show you what it should look like. And on that sheet, I want you to reflect on and identify some examples of the teaching methods you use. Now, I got some philosophies from a couple people in the group, and a couple of them identified some of the methods that they use, right? In your teaching philosophy, you really should be linking that with your thoughts about how your students learn and how you teach. So I want you to, on that sheet that you have, identify some examples of the methods you use, kind of jot down what it is, and say if you think it is innovative, why, or how it has impacted students, and try and connect it to your philosophy. I'm going to show you the sheet I'm talking about so that you all would be able to. Let me see if I have it. Yes. This one, teaching and learning methods. So you just have a couple examples on top. I use group assignments in class. I use weekly quizzes. I use online games. I create videos. But when you put it down, I want you to think about how you use it and why you use it and how it reflects your philosophy. And so how you use it, why you use it, how it reflects your philosophy, and whether you think it's innovative, what kind of impact it has had on your students. So, you know, this is an individual activity for you to reflect on your teaching methods. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to work on that. Just do a couple, you don't have to fill it out. Brainstorming, what are my strategies? How are these strategies connected to my philosophy in terms of my beliefs about teaching and about how students learn, and what has been the impact? Any questions on that, or you all okay? You all understand the task? Good. All right, so I'll give you all 5 minutes. So you don't have to use the actual document. You could just jot down on a piece of paper any teaching and learning methods you've used and how it relates to your philosophy, your way of thinking about teaching and learning, and what has been its impact.
Diane?
I'm here, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dr. Dhingra. Good morning. Listen, I was just going through these teaching and learning methods, and
Yes.
though I, joined late, I was there for solidarity for today at 10 o'clock, so it took me almost, 5 to 10 days.
So you don't know what the task is, Samir?
I don't know, I just
Oh,
wanted to know
sorry.
what it is.
Okay. All right. I didn't see when you joined. What I've asked people to do is to think about, because remember, the point of this is you're going to be developing your portfolio, and one of the components of your portfolio has to do with your teaching responsibilities, and teaching is one of your main responsibilities. And so This asks you to think about what methods do you use, what strategies, teaching strategies do you use in your class, and in your portfolio, you will need to express, um, to define what you use, say why you use it, and say what kind of impact it has had on your students. And then, of course, you'll have to provide the evidence of that impact. So I'm telling you to reflect on what you use for now, what strategies you use, and write that down. It doesn't have to be on this, just write it on a piece of paper. What strategies do you use? Do you only use lectures? Do you use group work? Do you use project-based, problem-based learning? And if you use it, what has been the impact? And why did you use it? How is it connected to your philosophy of teaching? How you see students and how you see yourself? How is it connected to that?
And one more thing, when you're speaking about these, these techniques and things, which I'm using in my classroom, whether it is just relevant to only on for my learning platform or in general, you are asking.
No, in general. In
In general.
general.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Wait, I see Rowena. Rowena posted something. Let me go read that. Okay, Rowena, but this is a good example of how you express it. Because in your case, it's not one of these, but you do have an approach, right? And as you've started off nicely here, your philosophy, you strongly believe in modeling and inquiry-based student-centered pedagogy. That's your philosophy, right? And so in keeping with that, you have your students, they learn about teaching through interactive, hands-on, inquiry-based approach. So what you need to do is just give an example of what you give them to do that reflects that, and how some of the things that they've said about that, how have they benefited from that. They must have given you feedback in some way. You must have seen the confidence that you talk about, that confidence. You must have evidence of that for you to say that, because they might have said it back to you at the end of a session. You might have seen it reflected in a piece of writing that they did before compared to something that they did after, in the way when you observed them, when you did your clinical supervision, the way that they performed whatever they had to do when you went to them the first time as opposed to the second time. So even though it's not one of these things that listed here, you do have your own set of strategies, and while and it reflects your philosophy. So this is an excellent example.
Diane, yes, you're correct, but it's too much to write.
No, but you've done it here.
Right, so that's what it is. So that's it.
So you've done yours. Yeah.
Yes. If I had to sit down and,
but you will. If you're doing a portfolio
and actually pull out all my data and example, it would just go on for the whole day, So this is just it in a nutshell. So
right.
I would have to actually, because it is not a strategy, I'll have to actually illustrate how I structure a class.
Yes, you will.
That is what then pulls out what we mean by inquiry-based student-centered pedagogy, and then what the feedback the students give me, and then the evaluation forms I give them, But this is just in a nutshell.
And this is an excellent start. But the point I want you to get, Rowena, is when you're doing your portfolio, there's a section where you'll have to do that and have to pull out. I mean, they don't expect you to give every single one, but you have to give an example so that people understand. So this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how it's related to my philosophy, and this has been the impact.
Right.
Even if you use one or two examples, but that has to be clear in your portfolio.
Right. Yeah.
So this, I just wanted a taste. I wanted people to start to think about it so that they understand the extent of it, the work that's required, and what is required.
Yeah. So I'm actually writing a paper based on my work.
On your approach.
For a conference in November, which is supposed to be held in St. Kitts, because I'm using some evaluation that I gave to my students based on a couple of classes I had And I was just collecting the evaluation, and I realized I have about 3 groups feedback. So what I can do is I can do a set of analysis of their open-ended answers and put out the themes which arise from that.
Right.
So that acted as more, because after a while I started, because of the oral feedback students would give me and my own observations, I started to try to capture the evaluation in a written form. And that's what I just had it and I had it there, but always meaning to analyze it in a more formal way. And then the work that I've done throughout the Caribbean with science teachers was what made me realize that capturing the feedback wasn't as difficult as I imagined, because we did an evaluation at the end of each workshop. And we evaluated both the content of the workshop but also the pedagogy. And so I have all that feedback as well, which is
Good.
actually written.
Okay. So good. So Rena, you could start thinking about how you pull that together for that section on
Right.
responsibilities and so. And I saw, is it Judy posted something about, let me go back to the chat. Yes, modeling writing the methodology using the experimental journal articles. Judy, you want to say something about that?
So, students writing their research report at the end of an experiment, I found that they were not always able to meet the criteria in the rubric and needed some additional guidance. So I used an experimental article, or a few of them put together, and would photocopy the parts of the methodology from different research papers and distribute in a group. Usually it was a small group of students, and they would each identify the different components. And at the end, when we compared all, we realized that although they were different articles, they were more or less the same information present.
And
So
what?
therefore,
Go ahead. Sorry.
so I had work that they had done before, and then the final work where they presented the final report, the methodology usually met the criteria because there would have been a rubric, and the criteria for the methodology was met by most of the students.
Right. So you saw that was the impact part, right?
Yes, that was the impact part.
So if you had to, what statement could you make, or what could you say that would classify this as something innovative? Why would you think this was innovative? Is it something that was never done before? Is it something that you've done in a different way? Do you think it's innovative? If you think it's innovative, why?
Well, I thought it was innovative. I mean, I've done it a few years ago, and but it's innovative for my group because I noticed that they are having a problem with it, and therefore it is specific for the students that I teach when I observe that are coming more and more with the inability to write a scientific report. And when I look back on their prior work from CAPE and also from their year 1 and year 2, I realized because of student number, we are just making them write little point forms or little bullet points so that they don't get that overall understanding of the research report. And though when they read the journal articles pertaining to their experiments, they can't model it themselves. So I came up with this way. I haven't seen it before. I'm sure somebody else, I'm sure it's written somewhere.
But you haven't seen it before. So it's innovative.
No.
In that for you, it was a new, different approach, and it worked.
And it
Correct?
worked, yeah.
Okay. So I'm seeing after you, Sharon posted about Google Drive and Ricardo posted about formative assessment in his course, and he tried to connect, show how it's clear improvement. Y'all could read it in the chat. Show how there's clear improvement with the analysis and writing pieces, and he tried to identify how it's related to his philosophy. But what the task is intended to do is get you all to, because this will be personal to each of you. Each of you will have a strategy or strategies that you use, and the intention here is to share that, be clear on what it is, be clear on how it's connected to your whole philosophy of teaching, how you see your students, be clear on if it's something that you think is new and different, why is it new and different or innovative, and what has been the impact. And that's the critical thing, to have that evidence that the students really improved. Marsha, I want to ask you, I mean, you have done this before. How did you deal with that aspect of it in your portfolio, getting at the identifying the innovative strategies and the impact?
I had 2 pages within the portfolio. One page was headed My Teaching, and one page was headed My Effectiveness. And then I had another page called the Distinctive UE Graduate. So what I looked at is the main deliverables requested in the guidelines for the award, and to respond to each of the requirements, I created a page. So in My Teaching, I outlined the courses, and these are the sections, the courses and students that I've taught.
I shared the link again so people could click on it
Right.
in the chat, the link to Marsha's portfolio again.
So
you could click on it in the chat.
This is the My Teaching page, and I'm just running down the sections, the courses and students I've taught. So I gave a little student profile. And in there I created hyperlinks to actually show my learner assessment, learner analysis for one such course, samples of my course outlines, and a breakdown of my approach to teaching and assessment, my reflection about my lesson planning, what I was good at and what I wasn't so good at, the the variety of online resources that I made available to my students, my use of blogs, my use of student-developed web quests. I thought that was innovative because usually in teaching, people who use web quests give students web quests, but I had the students develop their own to teach different units in the class, so the rest of the class got to do their web quests and learn. Student developed videos and screencasts, and I gave samples of some innovative alternative ways that students were assessed. This was a quality management class, and they had developed things like a spoken word video, a one-man skit, and many different screencasts. So I gave samples of some of the nice ones. My own videos that I developed, and I put samples, even though I was embarrassed about them. Activities that followed discussions. So we had discussions and we did group activities in class. The very cool thing is I hadn't planned to do this portfolio, and when I told my students I was thinking of doing it, they said, well, Miss, we have photos that we've been taking of you through the semester, and they all just emailed in everything to me, and that's how I got all this evidence to put up photos and stuff. Online discussion forums, journal entries, stories and examples, case studies. I had written my own case study for one of the classes too. Projects that I set in real companies, and in-class group activities. Visualizations I did in class to explain certain concepts, tutorial style calculations for the more maths topics. Games that we played, and I actually took them outside to play cricket to learn business strategy, to learn about offensive and defensive moves. I had some students who were not engaged at all in the class, and I realized it's because every example I was giving was a business example. So I decided we would play a short round of cricket, and in playing cricket we were able to observe offensive and defensive strategy being used, and then they analyzed the different strategies and we linked it back to business strat. So I put in a picture of them playing cricket out on the lawn by Tea Hall. Use of rubrics and other things that I would have done, like teaching them the history of words and why we use certain words in our language, in our jargon for quality management and so on. So that's how I covered the teaching. And then there was a section on effectiveness, and there I would have given feedback from other academics, the endorsements from other academics, how I do my own continual improvement using reflective practice, peer observations, and my approach to professional development, going to all the workshops in Settle and elsewhere. Teaching and learning publications that I've written, so actual scholarship for teaching and learning stuff. What else? Feedback from students and from alumni. So I had people who had kept in contact with me and would keep coming back for advice. They were able to write me supporting letters, plus they had sent over the years emails and cards. So I used all of those as artifacts and scanned them or gave links to them. Course survey feedback, both qualitative and quantitative. And I also had a section called negative feedback. So I said, I'm not exempt from getting critical comments. These are some of the negative things that people said, and here's what I reflected about them, and here's what I plan to do about them. So that's in a nutshell the approach to teaching and effectiveness.
So actually, Marsha dealt with two areas there, the responsibilities part as well as the teaching effectiveness part. But I wanted you to take note of the teaching, what Marsha called in hers my teaching. She just, put it all together in one thing called my teaching. But she identified several different types of approaches, reflected on it in the portfolio, gave examples, connected it, and reflected on it, connected it to her personal philosophy. And you see how much she ended up with there because of all the different things. And none of the things that she talked about, I think only probably creation of videos and games on that list that I have. She had other things too that she did that's not there on the list and that you might not have thought of as a strategy, right? Like playing cricket, So all the things that you do, even though it's not something that's an established teaching approach that you might have seen somewhere, but this is what you use, as Judy talked about her modeling activity. These are the kinds of things that would be considered innovative. And so think about it and think about how you present it and how you connect it. All right. So thanks for that, Marsha. Anybody want to ask anything before we move on?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yes,
I
go
have
ahead.
a
We hear
question
you.
about, I'm looking at Marsha's Weebly, and I'm asking but the storyboard, is that some sort of, is that for every class you did a storyboard?
No, that's a storyboard for the whole course where I was planning to blend the course. So I wanted to incorporate more online methods, and so I storyboarded it.
Okay, and what was the methodology for your storyboard?
Just a block for each lesson in the whole course, and deciding on the different approaches I would use to teach and to assess on the particular day.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, and Marsha started talking about teaching effectiveness and what she used on hers, including cards from her students and so on. So, I want you all now I had a handout that I shared with you all called What Constitutes Good Teaching. And I want you to look at that and see if it helps you to identify how you could provide evidence of the characteristics. And then go, look at Marsha's example and see, drawing on that, jot down where you think you could find your examples of good teaching. So I'm just going to go to the handout so you know what handout I'm talking about. That's this one. Yeah, let me just open it up a bit. So this one, what constitutes good teaching? Right. If you look at that, you should have the handout. So look at what's there and see what you could gather to use for your portfolio in terms of what constitutes good teaching, and jot that down. And some of you could share. You could ask if it seems as if this is something that could be used to demonstrate teaching effectiveness. You could share with us so we could comment whether or not it is a good example of good teaching. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to go over the handout. You should have gotten it by email. So it's not meant for you to read it on the screen. I'm just sharing it on the screen so you'll know what to look for in that email that I sent you yesterday. Okay, so could we start sharing some ideas for teaching effectiveness? What do you all have? What do you all think you have that you can use as examples of teaching effectiveness for now? For you, remember this is all personal. What do you have? Let's get some examples. So we know what Marsha has in her portfolio. She shared that and she has it under a heading called My Effectiveness.
So, hello?
Yes?
So, you asking what I have as characteristics, or what do I have as evidence that I was a good teacher?
Both. Because
All right,
if
so
you
I
say
have,
characteristics, then you have to have the evidence for that too. For example, we have here, instructor encourages students to see him or her in difficulty. Instructor is readily available to students outside class for consultation. Instructor has rapport with students. How could you prove you have a rapport with students? I guess that's one of the reasons why Marsha had her cards and so on to show that she was available and helpful and so on. So something like that, Camille. What do you have?
well, I have students' evaluations.
Right. Okay, and that's the obvious one.
From post-grad and undergrad.
Good.
What else does she have for evidence?
So she has endorsements from peers who say that she's a good teacher.
Okay.
Then she has her professional development, reflective practice that she's done. Her professional development, which showing that you want to grow as a teacher. Teaching and learning research, so it's not just research in your field, but research in teaching and learning, the scholarship of teaching and learning.
Okay.
Then she has alumni feedback, student and alumni feedback. And then the evaluation, which is the usual thing. So you see, alumni feedback is an excellent one as well, because it's not just about the students who are there and what they're experiencing, but those who could reflect on what has happened. And I see Rowena has her hand up. Go ahead, Rowena.
Yeah, Dan, I just wanted to say, Marsha has a very exemplary portfolio. But I do find that the assumption behind these portfolios are for specific kind of structure. For instance, you would basically have a class that you are teaching over a period of time, right? You prepare your lessons separately, and so the students can give feedback to you. What I noticed when I was at UCT, and I'm sorry I didn't do something like this at UCT, where we taught undergraduate courses, and therefore you had your specific class, right? But what I noticed is that the School of Education does not actually provide a structure that makes something like this easy to do. So, for instance, as I say, these are teachers, these are postgraduate people. You tend to teach and plan as a team, and then because of how the classes are, I don't think the students, I have noticed, because what students tell me privately, they don't write in their evaluation, and they do feel intimidated to single out any person in terms of their teaching. So things I hear that students will come up and tell me they will not write in their evaluation. And that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
I think you have a very
Yeah.
low evaluation rate.
Okay.
Because they tell me they don't want to single out anybody and then make other
Yeah.
people feel bad. For that matter, it happened in one of the classes, and I don't even think that the person meant to make anybody feel bad. But my colleagues were most upset. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so much so they upbraided the student, and this is a big man, eh? This was a big man. This was a teacher, and the student felt, the
Yeah.
teacher, we don't call him a student, the teacher felt obliged to apologize and to explain himself. So in order to get this kind of
Yeah.
feedback,
Yeah.
you're not getting it. And further to
Yeah.
that, I have noticed that if you do have teaching which enhances the students' enthusiasm, it's not always well looked at. You are seen as showing up the group or not or providing a kind of, I mean, one comment I heard was, well, seeing they're so enthusiastic, I hope they apply it. You know, which suggested that people were not comfortable, that if you're working as a you're working as a team, and everybody shared in the kudos, this sense of um, personal, what should I say, praise is not
Yeah.
well done.
Okay. And this is an excellent point that you've brought up, because there is an assumption that you are the teacher and you are doing this
Yeah.
for your development, which it is. But it doesn't, as you rightly say, it sort of doesn't take into account when you're doing that team teaching approach,
Yes.
right? Now,
And the fact that team teaching, everybody wants to feel that they are doing an equally good job.
right.
Cannot stand out as part of a team.
So my question to you is, as a one member of the team, and you're going to hear this dog barking, as one member of the team doing the team teaching, who wants to develop professionally, and you want to do your personal reflection and you want to do your portfolio, are you saying to me that that will not be looked upon favorably, may not be looked upon favorably by other team members?
That's the
So
impression.
because I was thinking that whole thing of the peer approach, and to get the feedback from the peer and all of that, I mean, that is all part of your reflection, that you are a teacher and this is the way you have been operating. This is your philosophy of teaching. This is how you feel about students, and your practice has been this. You've always been well, you haven't always been, but you have moved from this kind of individual approach to the team teaching approach. And this has been your experience in it, and this has been the experience of your students. And your portfolio has to reflect that. Now, I don't know how, in a case like that, you treat with the inability to get the collegial support of the team for you to work on you and develop your thing without it being seen as self-promotion. That is something that has to be worked on, because it is a useful tool for your personal and professional development. And if you're in team teaching, you do need the support of your peers in order to show evidence that what you have been doing is effective. I mean, the only thing I could think of is to encourage everybody in the team to work on their portfolio as well. And so you all support each other in doing it.
Well, I
So
suppose.
I don't know how it could work. I mean,
Yeah.
as someone outside, that is
Yeah.
what I would suggest. That you all are part of the team, and it's in everybody's interest to do their portfolio. Outside of that,
I think the
outside
politics
of
of
that, you
it
would
is.
have to do. It means that you can't depend on the standard evaluation. You may have to do your own action research and do focus groups with your students and contact alumni and so on, and
Yeah.
build that feedback.
Yeah. I mean, I
A
think
little bit different.
I think the politics of the situation is complex. But the other
It
thing I
is.
want to point out is that, and I mean, something that, of course, um, is a kind of approach to teaching which is being questioned, and that is the whole idea of the teacher as an individual within the classroom, you see, and the need really to make connections between teachers, and it being less about each person being a star and more about, let's say, the development of um, collaborate, or what we call communities of learning, you see.
Yes.
So within a
Yes.
community of learning, it really doesn't matter who's a star or who isn't a star.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is a community which just
Yes.
gets together to share and to improve upon the learning. Nobody has to be like anybody else.
Right.
Everybody can be their own self. And I mean, I remember telling my teachers that when I began the diploma in education as a young teacher, one of the things that happened was that myself and some friends, because we lived close together, we developed our own community of learning without realizing it was that. So every evening we'd come home and talk teaching because we were close by, and have tea and snacks, and through that we did a lot of sharing, which improved all of our teaching. But there's no competition, there's nobody trying to be first or last. It was just a sharing of equals, and that is another approach towards teaching which is being looked at very strongly.
Yes. Yes, but that approach of teaching will require people to not feel threatened if you're not that you're looking at yourself as a star, but if I decide I want to do personal reflection and I want to do professional development, and I feel that doing a portfolio will help me be more systematic and mindful as I do that, in that team, people should not feel threatened by me doing that. They should be supportive and say, okay, if that's how you want to do your professional development, I don't mind helping you. That's not my style, but maybe it's yours. And if that floats your boat and helps you, then I will work with you. I think it's all in the perception of people, because I don't necessarily see completing a portfolio as something intended to create stars and non-stars. I think it depends on it helps people build their confidence. It helps people identify things that they are doing that they might not have thought much of, or things that they've been doing that may not be working as they thought it might have been working, because they tend to interrogate it a little more closely. So I always feel that it's a good practice. Whether you want to share it with the public or not eventually is up to you or up to the person. But I think it should be seen not as a way of making yourself become a star, but as a way of making you grow and helping you gain confidence in what you do. That's just my view. So what I want to do now is I want to put you all in groups, and I'm going to share a list of portfolios with links. People use different approaches, they use different tools. So I want you all to just in your groups go through them and then have a little discussion, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you found was interesting, and so on. You all could even have that little discussion about this issue that Rowena raised, which I think is something important to think about, that whole thing of collegiality and the role of a portfolio, because we are talking about that. So I'm going to put the list of portfolios in the chat, and you could just click save it, so that when you go into your groups, copy them, and when you go into your groups, you'll have the list, and you could then look at them and have that discussion. So let me just put that in the chat now. Let me know once you see them. Right. Are you all seeing them in the chat?
Yes.
Right. So if you all could just copy the list and paste it onto a Word document or something on your computer so that when you go into the groups, you could take from it, go over them, review them, and then have a little discussion in your groups about what you think about them, what you like, what you didn't like, and then we come back out and share any consensus that you arrived at in terms of what you all felt were important things to have in your portfolios and what you all didn't feel comfortable about. All right. So we're going to now put you all into the groups. And so we have 15 minutes. I'll give you all 20 minutes because you'll need a few minutes to scan them and then to have your discussion. So we'll spend 20 minutes on this activity. So we're coming back at about 10:20 into the bigger group. All right. So we're now going to put you all into the groups. Okay, thanks. All right. So we're back in the room. So I'll start with Sherwin because Sherwin ended up all alone. I don't know what happened with Janine. Janine, are you there now, or I don't know what happened with Janine. She's still on, but so Sherwin, could you share what you found?
Hi, good morning, everybody. So I reviewed a couple. I looked at Dr. Maiku, I looked at Jason Matthews, I looked at Dr. Bridge and Agita. And I guess I spent some time looking more at Dr. Maiku's because it was captivating, right? So I found the introduction. There was very, very strong evidence of teaching effectiveness, like testimonials and course evaluations from the students and some student emails. But my only concern, because I prepared this recently, is the legality and the confidentiality of using student emails in something like this that somebody else has access to, that the student did not necessarily send the email to. That is my major concern, and I found that in several other sections as well, right? Conferences attended were okay, and I have that as well, but I realized that it was not updated, and I thought that the teaching portfolio or teaching dossier is a work in progress, and that meant constant upgrading and evaluation and reflection and all these things. So it's not static, it's dynamic, right? Professional development was okay. There was good evidence that she had a couple of scans for certificates and stuff like this, which is really solid evidence for professional development. She believes in education, and it's in line with the WI mission statement, which was really, really good to see. Quality student experience was also good. It was supported by photos and emails and pictures. The only other problem I had there, like with one previous section, was these emails. I don't know about the legality of that and whether or not I should share personal communication between a student and myself with somebody that it was not intended for. And I guess the only other thing I'd mention is that was made and highlighted to the distinctive UWI graduate as espoused by the university itself. But other than that, it was really, really well done. I quite enjoyed seeing it, and it gave me at least a little more insight on how I should model mine.
Okay, good. Marsha, how did you get your cards and so on for yours? Did you get written permission from the students? Did you tell them what it was for? Did they know it was going into your portfolio?
Yeah, the ones that I had before, yes. I contacted and asked for permission. I asked the students who actually gave me referrals to write them and send them to me, so they were aware of what the purpose was. So I declared before I used any of those things. And where I took excerpts, the only excerpt I didn't get permission for were from the course evaluations, and that's because those were anonymous and were sent to me by the university, and I was giving it back to the university in the portfolio. The emails where I was accepting, I got permission from those people.
Yeah. So Sherwin, I asked Marsha so that you know that if you're doing it, whatever you're using, you should get permission to use it, letting people know what this is for. Now, this portfolio, we don't circulate it widely. We use it for the training, we use it for the teaching awards and so on. The persons who did it know that we have the link and we use it for training and so on. So that's something that you also have to be mindful for. I agree with your comment that once you start to work on your portfolio, it should not be static. You should really add to it. So that's something that you all would have to think about how you would do when you're doing it. Now, Masha ended up in this workshop again because she wanted to know if we were going to be doing anything new and different. And I suspect that the idea was to see what else she could do to improve, Masha. I'm just assuming because I was wondering, why would you want to be back in the workshop?
Or,
I'm very happy that you're here. But to address that concern about the static, the fact that he's seeing things that just stopped after the teaching awards.
To me, technology changes all the time, and I wanted to stay abreast. And who better to come to than you and Justin, because you all usually update us on the new and emerging ones that we could use. So I just wanted to catch up if there were changes.
Okay.
So I do keep running. I keep updating my portfolio every now and again. You know, because what I'm doing is changing, and my own views on how I did things, it sort of has evolved.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Let's see. The next group had Camille, Giselle, Rowena. Could one of you share? I know Camille ended up late in it.
Yeah. I will say a bit, and maybe Giselle and Camille can add, right? So we looked, I looked at Farid Yusuf, I think that was his name.
Yeah.
And we looked at, not Camille, Giselle looked at the First Lady, Dr. Jacqueline
Bridge.
And I think so did Camille, right? Well, Giselle and I, because Camille came in a bit late, what we recognized was that all of these portfolios were very well constructed. Clearly, a lot of time, effort, thought, and organization had gone into compiling the data, the evidence, the philosophy, and organizing it in very logical ways, you know. I mean, there's very little that you could critique these on, and clearly, as they got awards, you would expect that they would be just like Marcia's own at the high end of the work. I mean, what we thought was while they were very inspiring, they were also very intimidating because we both, with our workload,
sorry, Rowena.
yeah, with our workload, how much of this we could do was highly questionable. You know what I mean? For the average, well, at least for me in School of Education, because I was telling Camille, in terms of my story, the work I have done over my 30 years of teaching has been so extensive that a portfolio like this should really have started like 15 years ago, you know. But she even felt that for her, it was intimidating to try to pull those elements together in that kind of way, you know. But we admired the ability to write so clearly, to gather evidence, to put it together in that format and all those kinds of things, you know.
Yeah. Truth be told, some of those people were in workshops just before, just like you, and the same thing you were saying where they felt a little bit intimidated and they weren't sure that they could do the work. And I remember Marsha initially saying it's a lot of work, and then you see the product. You don't know what you know. You don't know what you could do till you do it sometimes. So, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, it's also a question of time. I mean, that's one of the things.
Oh, it's always a question of time.
That people actually carved out significant
yes.
amount of time to get it out.
Yes,
so the
yes.
workload carving out that time as much as
yes.
It might not be so simple. I had a colleague from the US who came to Trinidad as a professor at UTP. And they had quite a different way of doing this, which to me was more practical. It wasn't any award or anything. But she was kind of surprised that we didn't do it. She told me she would have a box in her office. And every time she did something, and she had some product or thought, she would just add it to the box. And then at the
Okay.
end of the year, she would, the portfolio had some sections and she would just convert those items into her portfolio so that over the years the portfolio would then develop. So she didn't have
Yes.
so she had a CV, which is what everybody keeps asking us to do. But when she was at a university in Texas, they actually required not a CV but a portfolio, and that was
Yes.
a simple way of doing it. So let's say you write the
Yes.
paper, you put a hard copy in there. She actually had hard copies. So you did a workshop, you put a hard
Yes.
copy, then maybe you scribbled down a little note, and then
Yeah.
she sometime at the end of the year and organize how to.
Yes. Yes. So what we're providing you with, that's a good approach. But what we're providing you with is a framework and trying to identify for you some of the things to consider to put into the box. Because it's all well and good to have the box and to say put it. But if you have a sense of what am I putting in this box and a filing system, it's what I'm trying to get you to do is to create a big filing system, and then you could have the smaller systems where you're going to put the things into the boxes. So that approach is very practical. All right. Let me just ask either Camille or Giselle if they want to add anything.
I understood Dr. Rowena, her comment about the fact that, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
That she has a wealth of teaching experience, and the mere fact that she wasn't able, or she didn't think about collecting all the kudos
Over
that she
time.
received, and all the things that she's done is very heartbreaking in a sense, because it sounds like she's a phenomenal teacher. With regards to looking at the different, my biggest concern for me is the portfolios that seem to do well is those that it's easy to access the information. Like it has to be easy to navigate and easy to get to all the different tabs. And tabs have to be kind of accessible to me. So I'm caught up in how did they do it? I'm not that technology savvy, and and they have pictures and where did they get the pictures? I'm all about the how is this done.
Okay, so we'll do that as soon as we finish this part. Okay, we'll do part of that. At least introduce you to one way to do that. And then it may require another workshop, but we'll do that. Okay, let me just take Rodolfo's question before I go on to you, Giselle. Rodolfo, you wanted to ask something. I know you came in late, so you're probably not sure what we're doing. People reviewed some sample portfolios and they're now sharing some feedback. It was intended to help people see what other people have done, to kind of see what's possible for them, what's not possible for them. So that's what we're doing. So go ahead. Do you have a question? Oh, he's off now. He's gone. Rodolfo? Okay, he probably just wanted us to know that he's in. So Giselle, you want to go ahead?
I was just adding that, well, Roanna, more or less what we discussed, but we spent a lot of time speaking about the work that goes into the preparing the portfolio, and it was something that was a bit of a concern for us because it will take a lot of time, and as you said, you would take us through maybe or give us little tips on how it's done, because it's documenting your work over years, and I think it's important that you have to remember everything you've done with each course, and if you're not documenting it, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Okay. So I want to ask Marsha to jump in here again about time, because that's a big thing. I know it was for Marsha. So you want to share how you address that and the collecting of information?
Yeah, it honestly was very, very complex when you started taking stock of all the information that you had to somehow put into an accessible space. And then I realized, listen, if you're doing this so the version that I did in the beginning was much more complex, and it had many, many hyperlinks, and it was like a spider's web, and you would never find your way out. So I changed it when I decided that I was going to go for the teaching award. I looked at what they were going to assess on, and I put a tab for each one of the main themes that they were going to assess, so that when they're ready to assess item 3, they just had to go to tab 3. And inside there, I sectioned it into headings so that they could see the different elements. Before I had 5 different pages as the sub-pages. I now had just the one page and links inside there. And then I connected each of the pages by putting a hyperlink at the bottom. So if you just read about my teaching, do you want to go on and see how students judge my effectiveness? Click here.
Okay.
So it was all about convenience for the reader or the user, as opposed to convenience for me. However, that did take time. It took, I think, a month of an hour or 2 every night.
Okay.
To
An
format
hour
it.
to every night over a month to format. I want to go to Rowena and Giselle's question about if you are a teacher who's been teaching for many, many years, and you've done things but you didn't record it. You didn't put it in that box, as Rowena called it. You didn't drop it in the box.
So I don't have the teaching experience from that long, but I was teaching from 1996 or 7. So I did have a lot of teaching experience that I had never captured anything for. And one of the things that came up for me is that the portfolio would be assessed more on who you were currently as a teacher. So I could talk about in my philosophy how I came to be the teacher that I am, but maybe the last 6 years or so would be the period that you would be using the most evidence from as you build this portfolio. Because you would acknowledge that you may have changed in your philosophy, your approaches may have changed. So they want to assess you as the teacher that you are now. And therefore you're using more current evidence and current philosophy and so on. I don't know if that helps, Diane.
Yeah, she did put in the chat that helps. Rowena, that is put that helps her. Giselle, do you get that with the timing and how do you treat with the wealth of information that you might have lost? I think Camille was the one talking about that.
Something else sorry, let me wait for
yes, let the last group share and then we address any other issues. So that's Sharon, Samir, Judy.
Hi. It just ended up to be Samir and myself.
And you? Oh yes, because Sharon got kicked out. Yeah.
That's okay. What we did, we were actually reading independently, and we had just come together to begin chatting. So, what stood out for me was that looking at the various portfolios made it very clear to me the subheadings, the tabs, the teaching philosophy, my teaching, the effectiveness, and I picked up a new tab, which is the UWI employee effectiveness, is it? Or
did it interviewee graduate or the?
No, the employee part, the UWI employee. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end.
Right. So I think I agree with someone who spoke before on Dr. Oh dear. Professor, there were two doctors from engineering.
All right, Bridge, Jacqueline Bridge.
Yeah, Dr. Maiku.
And Michelle Maiku.
Yeah, who's quite simple and easy flow to go through. The first one I thought was a bit heavy, more difficult to navigate, and was
that
heavy.
because of the tool? You think is that The way it was presented?
Yes, I think it was 2.
Okay.
And yeah, but Michael, but I had the same concern about use of pictures and
Okay.
yeah, from
All right. Okay. Well, we'll deal with that as we go along then. Samir,
Yes, Diane. Yes, 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 yes.
anything you want
Uh,
to add, or
I
it's been covered?
no, I think most of the things have been covered. I've gone
Okay.
through, in fact, 4 portfolios. One is my friend Marsha, with whom I attended, Cattle program, and you were my teacher, Diane, and even Justin talking about the time that I remember those days in year 2014. And in fact, apart from Asha, I've gone through other 3 portfolios: Dr. Geeta, Dr. Jacqueline, then Dr. Farid Yusuf. The things which
Yes.
they have written plenty. Before attending this, this is the first time I'm seeing that, how the lecturers they apply for their, this
The
award, the
award.
teaching
We'll
award.
talk
Yeah.
about that at the end of the session too.
No, the things which I found, what they have written, all 4 of them. First of all, when I saw their teaching philosophy, most of them they have written, all of them I will say have written their belief, how their belief,
Yes.
how the teaching they are going to do. Then
Yes.
moreover, once they have written their belief, after that they have written how they are going to implement that component when it comes to, affects their
Yes.
decisions in terms of selection of material, in terms of their teaching strategy, in terms of how they are managing their classrooms. That is the thing, that is the similarity I have seen among all 4. Then
Yes. It's
apart from that,
connected.
it's all connected. Then
Uh-huh.
apart from, there may be little bit here and there. Then moreover, I couldn't get my, I've just gone through superficially for, because they've written
Yes.
plenty.
Yes.
Let me tell you, it is not an easy task to make a
No, I
portfolio.
just wanted you all to skim and pick up what you could.
Exactly. Apart from
Yeah.
that, all of them, they have mentioned their role as a teacher, as a learner. Apart from their roles, they have mentioned very clearly their responsibilities and what they expect from their students when they are teaching, and what are the teaching strategies they are using, and how working, how they're well working in terms of, implementation in classroom.
Okay.
Then all those things I have gone through. Then I think, to points which the other people have said, I was just listening to them. There may be few here and there things which may be missing, but it's plenty. All of them, they have done
Okay.
really a good job,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
No, I I I didn't want to intimidate you all really. I just wanted you all to see examples of what it could look like. And as I said when I started out, it's something personal. And depending on what you're doing it for, the look of it would vary too. So just keep that in mind, right? And so I hope that it was still a worthwhile activity for you. So the
Yeah,
next part of the session, good. All right. Good. I'm glad.
I have a question. Hi.
Sure.
I have a question about the recommendations. Okay, so my head would not know my teaching philosophy because he has 4 subunits. So getting a recommendation from my head may not be. Does it make sense? Because I see everybody having recommendations from bigger people, who may
It
not know
depends.
their work.
It depends on what you no, not everybody had from their head. People had
let
others,
me
I
tell you,
think.
Doctor, that then I don't know Camille's question, because nowadays students' feedback, course evaluation, that goes to one copy goes to head even, so probably they also get the feedback from the our teaching and learning department, teaching and
Yes,
through
but no, but
students evaluation report,
yeah,
course
so what
evaluation.
Camille was saying is that in addition to that, because the course evaluations look at your teaching effectiveness from the perspective of the student, but Camille was saying in addition to that, she was seeing support from heads of departments and peers. So she was asking if you definitely have to get support from the head of the department. Now it depends on what you're doing the portfolio for. We'll look at the criteria at the end of this for the teaching awards. If it's for the teaching awards, it's suggested that you get something from the head. But if you're doing this for your own professional development, then certainly peer commentary is good. It's just as good. So it would
Yeah,
be,
but what
we
I'm
look
saying
at
is that
that.
my head wouldn't know my teaching because he has a
Yeah.
unit coordinator. So wouldn't a
Yeah.
unit
So you would
coordinator
have
be a
to
better
get your
reference?
unit coordinator. Yes, you'd have to use your unit
Okay.
coordinator, and you'd say that. You'd give the rationale for why. But your head
Okay.
would have to support, I guess. We'd see what the guidelines say. But
Dan,
of
Okay.
course, yes.
I have one more question. When you say for these teaching hours, do the lecturer should have publication in teaching and learning also? Every
You don't have
if it
to. You
don't
don't
have
have
to.
to, but I mean, something like that would be an additional, it would be something additional. But it's
It should,
not, they don't specify. There are certain things that they specify you need to have for the awards. But
because
something like
when it comes
that,
to the publication, we usually work for our own research in our own area
yes,
of action. But getting publication
yes.
from teaching and learning, sometimes I feel because I see few people they have very good publications even from our faculty of medical sciences. I'm seeing Dr. Farid Yusuf has very good number of publications even in teaching and learning in medical sciences. That's
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't, each person is judged on their own merit. I'm just giving you these as examples. It doesn't mean you have to compare yourself to the person.
but it's really productive session. I've seen so many things. I've never.
Okay, good. I'm going on now I want you all to look at the tool Weebly as a possible tool that you can use. Now, some people used it from those that you reviewed and some didn't. Some use things like WordPress. I think Jacqueline Bridge used Google Sites, right, Justin? Jacqueline Bridge and Geeta use Google Sites, I think.
Yes.
Marsha used Weebly, correct?
Yes.
Right. And I think Farid used WordPress. So there are different tools, but we're just going to go through Weebly because that's easily accessible. It's free and it's not too difficult to use. So I'm going to ask Justin if, Justin, you have your Weebly site up so I could
One
start going through.
Dan, one question. Though I
Yes,
mean,
Samir.
when you're talking about these personal site, Google Docs, or Weebly, our university, why it doesn't provide the space on university website itself? Every lecturer can be given space, no, for their research and teaching portfolios. Maybe
At
that
the
can be
university.
maybe at university, yes, that can be displayed at university itself for each and every faculty. That will bring the university also if somebody open the site. For example, they're visiting our school, they will see every lecturer has its own teaching portfolio and research profile on that. I think that space can be given. Limited space can be given to the every lecturer on the university website itself.
Well, we'd
Space.
have to. That's not. I mean, that's not the work of the CTL. That discussion will have to be had otherwise. So I'll note it. It's in the recording, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, Samir.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure.
All right. So we're going to use the Weebly to try to create your online teaching portfolio, right? So for now, we're just going to look at it to see where you can add your homepage, where you can add your teaching philosophy, where you can add effective teaching. So the first thing you have to do is create that site. Yes, I remember. Yes, thanks, Justin. So the first thing you'll have to do is create that site. So here's what I want you all to do. Open a tab where you go to, and I'll talk you through. So even if as you're doing this, you don't see my screen, I'll be talking you through it, all right? So the first thing I want you to do, you open a tab and go to the site weebly.com, right? I want everybody to go to weebly.com. I will put it in the chat box. All right, just let me know when you're all on that site. And just send something so I'll know you're all on weebly.com. And when you go to weebly.com, good. When you go to weebly.com, I'm assuming people are on. You scroll to the bottom of that page and you should see Get Started, right? Or Create Website. Either one of those. You'll either see Get Started or Create Website. I'll give everybody a minute or two to be sure everybody's on. Get Started, Create Website. Camille, I'm asking you specifically. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, I'm asking Camille because you were very interested in how they get the share.
Yes.
Are
I'm
you
on
on?
Weebly.
Right,
yes.
great. Good. So it's saying now, once you do that and you click Get Started, right, it will ask you for name, email, and password. You're creating a password, don't worry. So you're putting in your name, your email address, and put in a password. Once you do that, your name, your email address, and a password, just make sure you write down your password somewhere for now. You then click sign up. Your name, your email address, your password, and you click sign up. Right? When you click sign up, you'll be taken to a page, and that page has two options, right? What kind of website to create? You have I just need a website. I want you all to click the option I just need a website. You don't want a store, you just want a website. So you click that, I just need a website. And that should take you to a page where you're going to select a theme. This is a theme for your website. Don't be too concerned about the theme for now because, you could play around with it later on, all right? So you could choose from business, whatever. Just click one. You could accept it by clicking the edit, or if you don't like the theme that you see there, you exit out, click the X, and pick another one. But for now, because we're just because you can do this all over again, after, we just wanted to see what it looks like to get in, to see how simple it is to move. So just select one by clicking accept, edit. Everybody still with me? Yes?
Quick question.
Yes.
Giselle here. After you click on, after you create
a website.
and select a theme, you said just click anyone?
Right, just take a theme. You selected the theme, right?
Okay.
And then, right. So once you select a theme, one or two things may happen. Are you all seeing a page where you are going to choose a domain?
I clicked on portfolio. Is that what you're talking about?
Let me go back. You clicked on yes. You could choose a portfolio, a business, or whatever. It doesn't matter if you click portfolio and then click on one of the, you see images, those are the themes. That simply means that when you click on that page, if you accept that page is going to look like initially. You could tweak it, you could do different things to it. So you click select, you select a theme. You click portfolios and then select a theme. And Justin is reminding you can choose anyone by clicking on the tile. The tiles that you're seeing, just click on one of them. So, are we on a page where you are being asked to select your domain name? Yes? Right. So, if you're on a page that's asking you to select a domain name. No, Sharon, where are you?
Hi, I picked my theme and then
so now you're seeing,
I'm just seeing Darren Small's Where Do I Travel? Because I think I clicked on the theme Leaps and Bounds.
Right.
Do I have to start editing something?
Yes.
Oh, I have to start editing. Okay.
Right click. It should ask you to just select the theme or start editing.
Okay, I'm waiting for it to load.
So some of you you could click Start Editing. Top of the screen on the right side.
Okay, now it's asking. Yeah.
Now it is asking for select your domain.
Right,
Yes.
great.
Right.
So now it's saying select your domain, right? So what you're going to have to do, what that is the, yes, Julie, click Start Edit. And you should get the page that asks you to select your domain name. Now we want the free one, so you have to put in, you have to give it a name, and then it's going to, and then you search for it, and then it's going to tell you if it's available or not, right?
Can we put
So
our name itself?
You have to create a name, right?
We can put our name itself. There should not be any problem.
You could try it, unless there's another Samir there. Right? But it will have your name and then weebly.com.
Yes, it is available. It is.
So, right. So, and you want to go to the bottom for the subdomain. You click search. Did you put it in and click search? When you put in the name, you have to click search, and you want to see it at the bottom under subdomain, not
So
under professional domain.
Sure.
If it appears under subdomain and the choose button under the subdomain is clickable, then it means it's available. You could click that.
Sure. Then one more thing, just for my own curiosity, what is the difference? Though I am going to click subdomain, okay, it is available, it is showing green symbol. But what does it mean if somebody select for professional domain?
You have to pay.
You'll
have to pay.
Okay.
It's not free.
It's not free. Okay. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But of course, it means that what we choose is the free one. The features are not the same. You know, you'll have less features. Correct, Justin?
For subdomain, yes. Okay. Okay.
Well, it's because we're doing the free.
We are doing the okay. Okay. So done. sameerdingra.weebly.com.
Right. Is everybody there with us? You get this. You put it in. You search, and it should appear if it's available in the subdomain area, and you can choose it. So click choose. Yeah. Right. And once you do that, you should be, once you choose, you should be taken to a screen where you see the design that you chose, and then there are a set of tiles on the left of the design.
Yes, I can see that. Yes, I can see individual elements and those stuff.
Everybody seeing that?
Yeah. No.
Giselle, what are you seeing?
My page I just was able to load my page, so I'm on select your domain name. So from there, what do I do?
Right. Type in a name in the box on the top and click search. And it will let you know if it's available. You go down to the block that says sub. And if you are able to choose it, it's available. So you just choose it.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and then you should get to that. Yes, you should be able to edit your theme and everything. You will be able to.
Yes, I'm seeing it. Thank you.
Right, so everybody should be on the page. Sherwin has a Weebly page that you use to assist your students having my learning access issues, but the free page is not accessible via search engine. I could never find the page unless I specify. Yes, yeah, you have to specify the URL for the page. You have to specify the URL for the page. So remember too, with this portfolio, you're gonna be given you might not want to just have it open there, you know, you want to be able to share it if you want. So you will have to share your URL. Right, so once you're on this page now, this is where you could start editing, right? It's called what you see is what you get website builder, meaning it's clickable. You don't have to write code and all of that. So I'm going to mute somebody's mic here. Giselle, you wanted to ask something?
I just figured it out, thanks.
Okay. All right. Yes. So all those boxes and so allow you to be able to drag, drop, and do all sorts of things. Justin, you want to share your live one now? Share your live screen now. That might be easier, better for people to see now that we are at the point where people are editing.
Sure, no
Rodolfo, your
problem.
page is frozen. I don't know if you want to refresh and see. So Justin is going to share his page because he's on Weebly now, in case people want to see as I talk, right? So if you look on the left side, you see a whole set of tiles, and Justin is pointing to the T right now, which allows text. So Justin, you want to just demonstrate that? You could talk it through if you want.
All right, no
or
problem.
If you want me to talk it through, go ahead.
Anything. All
no,
right,
go ahead,
so
since you're using it there.
all right. So to add text, all you need to do is click on the text tile on the left panel. All right. Now, just so you know, this panel on the left side is where you're gonna add all the web content. So you already did all most of the graphic part of it, graphic design part of it. Now you're gonna add the content, web content. So to add, the first thing off the box is really to add any sort of text or heading. In this case, you simply click on this tile and drag it over. All right, and you're gonna see here, click here to edit. All right. When you do that, then you could proceed to type your heading accordingly. This is who am I? Let's just say who am I for now. I'll do another demonstration. All right. And you are free to edit the look and feel of this text, whether you want to make it bold, italicized, underlined. You might want to change the font size or font color, sorry, the text style, all right, or even hyperlink it to an external thing. So let's say you have some sort of resource like a YouTube video, or some other thing that you might have on your a flash drive or your desktop that you want to link this phrase, you want to hyperlink this phrase, you can do that as well by just clicking, of course, the create a link option. So it's just like Word for the most part, right? And that's it in terms of adding text. I'll do it again, and this time I'll do it with the second text tab, the tile here, and it's the same principle. I just click on it and drag it over and click here to edit. So notice the difference in the web in the size. I am Justin, right? So this way, what you just did is put like the title, like a heading, sorry, because sometimes you might have a page with multiple headings, all right, or subheadings. So you have this one that who am I, which is the main heading, and the smaller one for the rest of the content. And it might be a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, what have you. But you could always edit it inside here. You could put the enter and continue typing, etc., etc. I will add the CETL, right? That's an example. Any questions on that so far? To add text?
Are you all still with us?
Yeah, hi. Justin?
Sure, hi.
Hello? Hi.
Yes.
How do I do, like, if I want to do a link to click here to go to someplace else? What do I do?
Right, sure, good question. So let's say you're saying, just to make sure I understand the question, you're saying you want to hyperlink a phrase, correct?
So yeah. Justin take CTL and link to website or something.
Right. So let's say I will cut the CTL, this phrase. I might just want to highlight, let's pretend this is click here, right, for example. Then all I have to do is highlight it, just as you would in a Word document, highlight it, then click add hyperlink, right, create link, and then you can select where you want to pull that link from. So let's say it's a website URL, and you could go and search, right? Now, it might be easier for you to find the website first. Let's say, let me just find the website. All right. And I could put it, so I just copy the website link and I could just put it inside here, right? And so notice now, if you look on the side here, you would see a change color a little bit, right? And once you do that, you want to make sure and click open in a new window, so that way persons wouldn't lose your page when they go to that external website. Yeah. And that's it. You click on it, and that's it. If it is you wanted to add another link of some sort, then you're free to do that.
If you want to do it, so if you want to do a file, you just click on that, and it goes. You click on the little web link, and it goes to file, and you can click on the file, and it connects with the file. It just uploads the file. Or?
If it is I wanted to, well, you'll have to have a link to the file. So let's say if I, like you said, to go to file, right, and you could upload a document that, let's say I'm just going to choose a random document.
She wanted to put her CV, you know.
Right. So I'm just choosing a random document, right? Open in a new window, and I don't want to unlink it. Right, that's it. And there you have it. So you notice here, it hyperlinks CTL here, and you can tell because it's underlined now. And I'm waiting for this one to make sure. Oh, snap. Right. I just hit enter. Open in a new window. And I think that should be it. And I didn't adjust the text of it, sorry. But you see it here as well. All right. And sorry, let me scroll up. Right. So I didn't adjust the text. But I could fix that now. Let me just fix it one time. Right. Now, keep in mind here, so apparently I double linked it. So you would notice if I put my cursor and I clicked on it, link will be active when published to add conversions with ting, and that's because it's hyperlinked. Now I could choose to remove it, or I could choose to change it. Clear enough?
Yeah. And if you want to change the pictures, how do you change the pictures?
Right.
All right. So.
Go ahead, Dan. So to do that, let's say I wanted to add a picture.
Sorry, Justin. I muted myself in error. I just wanted to be clear what we're gonna do, Camille, for this session is give you a broad overview of the main things. So he's gonna do the image, how to change the image, and then he's gonna do the pages, how you change the pages that are there, right? And then we leave it up to you all to go and play around. And what we could do is you could either schedule a clinic, like a one-on-one to go through, you know, or if you want to use a different tool or whatever, at that point we would organize either another session for a specific tool with a group of people, or Justin could do a one-on-one clinic with people if you want to work with a specific tool and you need some more help. All right, so we're going to do just a big, it's not a wibbly step-by-step session. It's just to give you an oversight, just making that clear, right?
Yeah. And keep in mind,
please. Sure. I just wanted to suggest sometimes people looking for images that they could use, and copyright-free images would be useful to them, so they could go to a source like pixabay.com, and I'm sure, Justin, you know others you could recommend.
Yeah. In fact, no, I'm thinking too, what you might want to do, in addition to what Marsha is saying, you might also want to have some footage of, people besides yourself, but in addition to you, it could be even a video of you teaching a class or doing some sort of interview or some sort of focus group or so, whatever footage you have. But I guess right off the bat, you're gonna probably want an image of yourself, right? At some point in time in your page, in your website. So, and of course, if you want other images, such as like a graphic of some sort, you could there are different ways you could go about it. If you want to create like a word cloud image, you could go to platforms such as Tuxedo, Tuxedo or Wordle. And these are and a word cloud is like a combination of words that, it's a graphic. So it's a combination of words, let's say keywords that might be relevant to your teaching philosophy, all right? And you could download that off of Wordle or Tuxedo and then put it. So you made your own image. So you may not even have to worry about copyright issues, of course, because it's yours. But if you're using other platforms, as Marsha mentioned, you could go different avenues to get it. Even if you decide to use, like, just go to Google Images and you search images there, you could just put a little, use the same text feature I highlighted here to give a little caption or credit where you got the image, right? Okay, so we just showed you how to do the text, and I think the next, we're just going to show you some of what we're showing is really some of the basic tools or features, because at the end of the day, you're obviously going to need text, you're going to need images, and you're going to need to switch to set up pages or edit pages and so on. So those are the main things that you need to get out of the way, basically. The more advanced features, of course, we could do in the clinics. So I'll move on very quickly to adding an image. Is that okay? I'm hearing questions, but I don't know. Well, Diane, I guess you could let me know what questions are there.
Yeah, I'm just chilling in the chat. It was Tagido said.
Okay. So go ahead.
It's fine. I will look at the chat.
Okay, thanks. So so now that we looked at the text, so as we see here, now the thing about Weebly is that you could always, it's kind of thematically, and I'm using this word very loosely, it's the tiles on the left side and this ribbon here, this panel, they're kind of closely related. So you have the left side, for example, you have the title text or headings,
Justin.
And then next, yes.
I have a doubt. Dan, she has just posted something. Justin's recommendation for word cloud, that is tag@zero.com. We have to use something from here in this Weebly, or this is a separate.
No, this was just a suggestion Justin was making if you want to do a word cloud.
What is this word cloud? What is this word cloud?
All right, no problem. Word cloud is just a combination of keywords that you might want to create that might be associated with your teaching philosophy, for example. Right? Let's say at some point in your teaching philosophy, there are certain recurring themes or words or concepts. Right? Let's say something like student engagement, interaction. Let's say those two words, for example, or among a couple others, of course. You could create a word cloud using any of the platforms I just mentioned, Tuxedo or Wordle, and there are several others that would help you create a word cloud. What I can do is probably show you at the end of this session what a word cloud looks like. But it's really a graphic of keywords or concepts that you can use to sort of summarize what would be a whole, verbose kind of thing. You just summarize it with different keywords or concepts.
Sure.
Right? To do that by the end of the session, I'll show you a sample of what it looks like. Not necessarily have to create it right now, but what it looks like.
Sure, not a problem. Thank you.
Right. Sure, no problem. So let's go on to images. So it's the same approach. I was saying just earlier that it's kind of the ribbons on the tiles on the left side, the panel here. they're kind of organized in a particular way. So you have the titles or headings that you might want to put on your page, and then you have the subheadings or body content. Here you have a general image that you might want to put, such as this one on the left here, and then you have a gallery that you might want to put. I'm just showing you some of the different features, right? So we wouldn't go into the gallery because that'll take a couple images to put in there, but let's go to images, and it's the same principle. You just drag and drop, and let's say I wanted to put this image at the bottom of this thing here. All right, so you drag and drop wherever you need to put, wherever you want to put on the site. And then you're going to see a little sort of grayed out icon in the middle here. Dan sometimes calls this as the sun and mountain kind of thing, but you're going to see something like this. And it's a familiar image that you might probably see, well, grayed out icon that you might probably see in other aspects if you're using a Windows PC. So you click on this, and it's going to show you, it's going to prompt you to find your image. Now you could either drag the image that you have from another window, a folder or something, or you could do a search for on your computer or a folder that you might have, or you could even search the search online. So let's say if I put UESD and I search, let's see what comes up. I guess nothing comes up there. Let's look at furniture, right? Something more generic. Right, so we see furniture here, right? And of course, it's a whole catalog or a list of images that I could choose. And I could go through and go through and go through. And let's say I want to select this, whatever this is, right? I was really looking for furniture. I guess this is some sort of furniture. Okay, let's look at this, right? And I simply click select, and the image comes up right where I have right here. See? You get these images. So again, to recap, and I'll do it again. So
sorry, and Justin, show them to the resizing and the movement and so on, so people are clear that you can, move it around and play around.
Right. Very good, Dan. Thanks. So I could move this around. All right. Let's say I want to put it under here on the left column. I could move it here. So it comes right under this. So in other words, there are different ways you could lay out your content. You could lay it out by, sometimes it might be a column aspect. So you might put your text on one side and your image on one side, or you might put your text, however you lay out your content. It might be the other way around. Added to that, you could tweak the image. All right, you could align it if you want it to be centered. All right, if you want it to be hyperlinked. All right, and of course, as you see here, and you could even put a caption, as we said earlier. So let's say if the image is something that you got from somewhere, you might want to put a little caption as to where the image came from. All right. Just go back up. If I wanted to edit the image, right, I can do that. I can crop it. Let's say I just wanted to take it in a little. I could do that, and I just want to focus on this particular lamp here. So you could get details like that. All right, and then once you do that, I think you click enter, and I think that should send it. Or you could even edit the size of it, whether you want it as a big square, a smaller square, a more rectangular sort of thing, and that's it. So, right, so this image didn't really come out too good, as you could see, even though I kind of zoomed in a little bit. All right, and I could save it. All right, now let's say I'm not, I think someone asked if you wanted to change an image. you can do that very easily. You can delete this. Are you sure you want to delete? It'll just ask you as a little, you know, safeguard kind of thing. And then you could delete the image and upload a new image. So you see this kind of modifying because I just took off that image, and I could go through the same process and add an image. Now let's say I didn't want to use that image and I have another one that I could probably pull from my computer, right? Let's say I want to pull furniture. All right, I just clicked on this strip here in the search from your computer. It'll open up a little window, and there it is. And of course, you could drag and drop as well in that little window we saw there. So, and of course, I could edit the image accordingly. Once again, I could make it larger, I could make it smaller, and that sort of thing. I could even copy it as we see here. And move it wherever I want to move it.
Okay, I'm looking
now,
at
if one more thing, if I wanted
Yeah.
to resize it, I could just click on the edge and drag accordingly, in addition to how I showed you to resize it earlier. So crop it.
Yeah, in the interest of time though, Justin, I want people to see how they can adjust the titles, the tabs, because somebody asked that in the chat. So if we could
Right. So
yes.
to do that, we go to Pages at the top menu, Pages, and you can tweak each. Now on the left side here, again, the left panel, you're going to see it change a bit to the Pages panel. And you can change these accordingly. So you could go to different pages, right? So we see I'm in the services page, and I could rename this or customize it. So let's say my teaching philosophy, right? And that's it. I could click copy, and you see it changes to my teaching. So if you notice at the top here, the home page, I don't know if you could see it because of the background, it's kind of white and so on. And then of course my teaching philosophy here, right? When I scroll, you would see it sort of changes color. So home, my teaching philosophy, right? And then you could add content to this page as you see fit, right? So similarly, if I wanted to add content, if I wanted to, it's the same, you just go back to build and you add your content accordingly. All right, now I would recommend that you work with the pages you have here first, and then you could, because I think you have more than enough here. These are like about six tabs or different pages within this internal pages, like pages within this site specifically, right? And of course, any external stuff I just showed you, you could hyperlink to an external site or include an image from an external site and so on. Any questions on that?
How do you delete one of the tabs if they want to remove services?
Oh, to do that, if you want to remove, you could just click delete. Right, so let me just show you, let me practice with one. Let's say down here I want to remove it. I click and then delete. Are you sure you want to delete this page? Right, and of course if you want to, you would click delete. All right, in my case I probably wouldn't, because I could use this page for something else. So I guess what I'm saying is that you might want to delete pages when you have uploaded all your content. Yeah. So when you realize that, okay, you use the pages that you needed, and you're good with that, you may not need all these 7 different pages at the side here, but you might just need about 4, right? Once you created your 4 pages and you fill it up with content, then you could go ahead at the end of it all to delete the unnecessary pages. Does that help?
Still there? We are still with us? We're about to wrap up.
I'm here.
Okay, great. So I think right, good. So I think I'll ask Justin to stop here with the demoing of it. I mean, I just wanted you all to get an idea of 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 what it can do. Could they be kept and just hide in navigation should they be needed later? Somebody's asking if they could be hidden and then used. I am not sure that you could just hide them. Justin, the question was if you could hide those tabs.
No. So when you publish it, you want to make sure you clean all of that up, right? So and you would have seen like publish, I think it's on the top right side. So once you finish editing all your pages and so on, you could just click to go ahead and delete those other pages that you wouldn't need before you publish.
Okay. So
right?
there's a site builder. I will put the document in the site for you all. You could look at it to see if you're stuck. But as I said, if you need any help more than that, you can email Justin to arrange for a clinic. So the steps, if we just review quickly, you go to wibbly.com, which you did. You sign up by entering a name. You chose the domain name. So you already have a start for your site. If that site is what you're going to use, we looked at the different samples already. So the last thing I want to do is to just share quickly. I know that you all had, just to show you the guidelines, which did everybody receive the guidelines for the teaching awards from the in the email that I sent? It's on my e-learning and I also sent it to the email. So I would
No,
go through.
Dan, I didn't receive any email. In fact, yesterday you sent some email, but I didn't receive any email.
You didn't get it. Can you get into the site?
Which
the website with the website with I'm going to put it in the chat now again. It's CETL my e-learning at sta.uwi.edu. All right. This is it's a Moodle instance that we have for training. You log in with your usual login credentials for Moodle, and you're looking for the course developing your teaching portfolio and all the materials in there. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Now, the teaching awards, as far as we know, they're still going to be on. The deadline for submission is July 31st. So if those of you who are interested, you have some time to do it. And as I said, the actual e-portfolio tool, you could have a discussion with Justin, who is our e-learning support specialist, about that. So as I close off, I want to say a very special thank you to Dr. Masha Nathai Balkisoon for being with us on both occasions and sharing with us. I'm really, really grateful. So thank you.
Diane, thanks for the invitation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Diane.
And I also want to thank my colleague, Dr. Justin Zephyrin, for being here and for sharing with us. And as I said, he will be available for you all if you want clinics on developing your e-portfolio. He's not allowed to help you all decide what to use, where to put, and all that. But he is there to help if you need some help with the tool, just to make that one clear. So as I close, anybody wants to say anything as we close, before we close?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Marsha, for your support. It was a wonderful day for all of us, I hope. But I learned a lot, something new
Good. I'm glad,
when it comes to
Samir.
teaching, philosophy and how to develop the portfolio, those things.
Okay,
And
good.
now, once you leave, I need to just to speak to Justin for a few things, that he told me one thing he will tell me at the end,
Oh,
regarding that
let me share that Wordle as we close off.
taxido.com.
Yeah, because no, the what a Wordle file is. He want it a sample to see. I'll just
Word
show you
cloud.
a quick screenshot of a Wordle. All right, bye everybody, and you all will be getting an email with the evaluation. So please complete the evaluation, and we're going to have the recording. I'll have it also in the Moodle site. If you can't get in, send me an email, and I will try to send it to you. Thanks again, and have a good evening. So Justin, you can have the discussion with Samira about the word cloud.
Thank you, Dan.
Rodolfo, you can email me, and I will send you the recording later on so you could go over it. All right, and I'll look out for your revised philosophy. All right, Justin, I'll leave you in the room, okay?
Oh, okay. No problem.
No, because Samir wants you to. Is he still there?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm there, Dan.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So, okay, Rodolfo, you email me, and I'll send you the recording as soon as it's ready.